Welcome, everyone, to today's Seven Habits. Habit number two. This is a habit number two call. I'm Sarah Smith. I'm here for the first time with you all and really excited, very honored to be here. This training for Chris and I, we've been with LifeVantage. For those of you that don't know us very well or are just getting to know us, we've been with LifeVantage for 13 years. We've plugged into everything the company really has put together for us to learn and grow. And we have found that this training that is specifically designed right now for the consultant, okay, this is really great. Like when we've done a lot of leadership work in the past, we've kind of had to, kind of fine tune it, sift and sort out and apply it to our business. And sometimes it's really easy to do that. Sometimes it's not so easy to do that. But what we're finding with this program in particular, when we were invited in, is that everything we're learning, they've kind of really put it, laid it out in a way that we can apply it to our businesses, our everyday businesses. So, the habits are something that are foundational for us to find success in our business when the habits that we're not putting in place, as we know, the habits that we're not putting in place or that may fall off, we find that, our LifeVantage business gets a little wobbly, our life gets a little wobbly. We have to like kind of fine tune, we have to take another look and focus again. And so I'm excited to bring to you habit number two. How many of you had fun with Marcy and Dondi in these first two sessions? Just drop an emoji in the chat. Um, because when I watch the replay, because we've been, around, we've been on the Alaska cruise, we've been doing all kinds of stuff. I was just blown away at how they delivered and the information that they brought. It was very, very powerful. So I'm excited to try to fill those shoes. Chris is with our daughter doing the cross country thing. We're here right now, and I'm with you today for today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we're going to kick this off with habit number two. And what I can say is that these habits, they stack on one another. So, the fact that you've been through habit number one, you're going to find, that this habit number two, beginning with the end in mind, is going to go very well, very hand in hand with habit number one, which was being proactive. So if we're looking at, kind of the habits on this maturity continuum, and we're looking at the private victories, right? We have three habits in the private victories. And I like to really look at this as, in habit number one, you are taking ownership and you're the captain of your own ship. Habit number two, you're charting the course, right? For your experience, for your journey. So you're charting the course. And really, if you look at that, like we've had the chance to take ownership over that first habit, being proactive and, really getting into ways that we can be proactive with our language. I mean, there were so many little nuggets in that last training, but it was really around taking ownership in the really subtle ways, but profound in the same kind of breath. Now, when we're charting the course, we are looking at, I'm just going to roll through these. It's, habits one through three, it's really about becoming effective. And I'm just going to roll through. I forgot these were kind of pulling up like this, but that's perfect. We're going to move to that. It's working from the inside out. And here we are. Habit number two is about deciding where we want to go, what we want to do, and who we want to be in the next few hours, the next few months, and across a lifetime, right? So we can look at this in many, in kind of time frames that will really work for us and where we are in our business and in our life. A common paradigm is I go with the flow because I can't really predict how things will turn out. Things are the way they are, right? And if you have that mentality, you're going to be in the reactive space versus the proactive space, hands down, right? When we don't know where we're going, and Todd, kind of the leader at the Franklin Covey Institute, who's teaching us, he said, look, when people, and let's take LifeVantage in mind. When people start to fade away or they become ineffective or they're not really showing up or they're, we 80% of our business sometimes is like, wait, I thought you said you really wanted this. Like, what happened? And when people show up and they're very clear with having the end in mind, they will show up, right? It's
Uh,
that time in a person's journey where if they're not really clear with where they're going, and for instance, a no will throw us off. Someone who you thought would join the business or be a customer, you thought they would, do this thing, and you wanted it more for them than they wanted for themselves. And they declared this very strong vision at one time. It's up to us as leaders to actually revisit their vision, remind them, and really make sure they have that end in mind super crystal clear. Because if it's not, it'll just show up, as I don't really have time. I thought this was something different. We've heard all of the excuses, and a lot of times I really believe that, what Todd said was that they're just not very clear on their mission and their personal, kind of vision for where they want to end up. So, and my journey in this has been very much the same. If I'm not really clear, like if, in the beginning, we were in scarcity mindset to try to like help with the debt like situation when we came into this. We had a health crisis. We had a lot of debt. We had never done network marketing. And our scarcity mindset was like, I didn't really have the end in mind. I wasn't going for presidential, and making 100,000 a month. We simply needed 5,000 a month, right? That's only where my mind can go. So I think, as we're bringing leaders in and we're playing with this concept of the end in mind, know that, it's up to us to really identify where they are in their journey with how big they can even dream. Because if it's too big, they're going to give up. And so, that's something that, a highly effective paradigm clearly defines our brand new consultant's vision, our vision personally, and purpose that will help shape the future that they want. So having it be something that they can really see will give them a clearer path versus like something that I can see as an executive hitting presidential, might not be something a brand new person can see. So I think beginning with the end in mind, you're really working with where that person is right up front. And in this program, we call it backcasting. So starting with the end in mind, and it's really, what that means is to talk or think about something that you're working towards as if you've already achieved it. And on our team specifically, we do a lot of this. It's like, just think about, like, envision where you are. No dream is too big, right? And sometimes it's uncomfortable for us to step into a place we've never been. So I think, when we're, working towards getting into the feeling of what it feels like, that's what they're calling backcasting. So it's really about like thinking about our future and vision in that way. And questions to consider as you backcast are um, what were your biggest wins? Like, if you're stepping into the future 5 years from now, or even 2 years, like set up a time that feels good for you. If it's 10 years, go for it. 10 years is a big chunk of time. But in 5 years, in 2 years, what were your biggest wins? Because really, what you want to see is yourself already having completed that win. So, in your notebooks right now, just get into if you were stepping, ahead, just like play around with this. This can be like a working document, like a living kind of thing that you're working on. But like when you where you want to be in life, in your LifeVantage business, what successes, have you accomplished? Um, what steps were required for that? Many of us know that stepping into big goals and prioritizing. I think the next one is putting first things first because that's a big piece of this, right? Like prioritizing, but like what steps were required to make that happen? Was it a conversation with your family? Was it giving up television for your, first year? Was it, maybe, I think for us, television was easy. I mean, we didn't even own a television. It wasn't until COVID that we actually were watching TV. So for us, it wasn't that, but it was really like, how are we spending our time and what steps were required to actually put that in place? What were the biggest challenges or risks? Like as you're, when you're looking back from that place of already finding success and having achieved that goal, what were the biggest challenges? Sometimes it's an unsupportive spouse. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's a work life balance. Um, and I think we've all kind of gone through this. And I know for Chris and I personally, when we decided, because a decision is a big piece to like applying kind of this these 7 habits, it was really a mindset of like, this is it. And we decided right out of the gate to go to every single event because we knew that's what the executives were doing. And if we didn't do that, our chances of success would be way less. That was a challenge for us to get to every single event. But we made the decision together, like, we're going to do this come, as they say, hell or high water, right? Like, we were going to make this work. How did it feel, taste, smell, look, and sound? And I know those are a lot of sensory things, but, feeling how it feels to have had that success, tasting maybe your favorite food that you couldn't order on the right side of the menu or the left side of the menu in that restaurant, how did it taste, to really get into that location that you've always wanted to live? What did it look like? What did it sound like when you were, whatever your goal is? If you're looking ahead from a LifeVantage standpoint, it's like, what song was playing when you were recognized, at your EC1, your EC2 level? What were you wearing? What was the temperature in the room? Where was your team sitting, in the audience? It's like, what section did you fill? And so have fun with this. This is it. This is really just about having fun because it's about when you're creating those neural pathways in your brain about this vision, your action and the path towards it has a place to go, right? Like there's a place for this to go. So in the backcasting, it's really important to get really specific. And I know sometimes getting specific feels kind of like, well, you've got the little part of your brain saying, you're not really going to be able to do all that. There's this kind of rhetoric going on. So just ask that little voice, that's your limiting, kind of ceiling on things to just sit this one out. Okay. and and give you the chance to actually get into those experiences because sometimes it is that it's our programming, right? And what did you learn? What did you learn about kind of stepping into already being in that place? What are some of the things that you've learned? So, taking the time to ask these questions and get really clear is really going to give you not only the motivation and the confidence and more of a direction on a daily basis. This is something that you can bring to your team, your budding team, and help them develop the same thing. Because when we're working with team, we're also working with developing their why, right? Like why LifeVantage? And, why LifeVantage, for many people, their why will change. But this is really about developing the mission, developing their why, and really having them really get into what are the reasons why. And we can kind of apply that to this because that common paradigm, people are usually walking in with the common paradigm of like, I can never predict how anything goes. The universe just kind of has its way. And we know, many of you have been in this business for a long time, that we do have more control than that, right? And so this is kind of a little pathway for that. So defining outcomes before acting is actually really critical. Create and live by a personal mission statement. And I love this quote by Emily Cook. She was an American freestyle skier. And she says, okay, close your eyes, you guys. Just like be Emily Cook, the American freestyle skier, for just a minute. I'm standing on the top of the hill. I can feel the wind on the back of my neck. I can hear the crowd. I turn down the in run. I stand up. I engage my core. I look at the top of the jump. I was going through every little step of how I wanted that jump to turn out. And you guys, if you can just get into like that kind of mindset, athletes do it all the time. They're they're studying their course. They're running through every single move before it's done. We hear the story of Michael Jordan and some of the basketball stars that will just run through every single play over and over. LeBron, oh gosh, James LeBron. Oh gosh, I'm drawing yeah, LeBron James. Yeah, he. I read kind of his story, and he would show up to the courts or early. He would run through every play, and he was relentless, right? So this is just an edge because we know for us, it comes down to invitations to see LifeVantage information. If we're applying this to our LifeVantage business, I think it's really important to know that um, before we start our day, we want to run through every single thing that we're showing up for and really knowing what the outcome is. We want to be able to define those outcomes. Like if we have a prospect that we're working with and it's a presentation for the very first time, it might be a first look, or it might even be a coffee date to see if they're interested or what shows up, in our listening, what shows up in our listening with them. It could be finances are tight, or it could be health is on the rocks. It could be all of these things. But if we're imagining that meeting and how we want the outcome to go, what do we want the outcome to be? And I'm doing this all the time with my daughter, to be honest with you. I'm like, well, when she's running into troubles or having some sort of, teenager, thing going on, I'm always like, what do you want the outcome to be? You know, do you still want to have him as a friend? Do you still want to get an A on that test? That kind of thing. So it's really about really thinking about how you want that event to happen. So, and this kind of leads right into before you start something, a project, a meeting, even a conversation, ask yourself what you want to happen. What would make it a success? When you have a clear idea of what you hope to achieve, you're more likely to achieve it. So, what we choose today determines where we find ourselves tomorrow. How many of you can agree with that? It's so true. It's like if we're having a bad time or if life is hard and who we're being is life is hard is going to show up tomorrow. So what we choose today, whether it's a mindset, whether it's to choose to walk through something, you guys, this is the biggest hack. This is the biggest hack to the entire business because a lot of times, if we're walking into any kind of situation already not even thinking about how it would end and having some static going on in who we are because maybe there was a breakdown at the home before you left for the meeting, those types of things, we got to clear all of that and really get into the person that you're going to be meeting with, the person you're going to have that phone call with, and run through, how do you want to show up for them? And many times for me now, I'm thinking, how can I serve them? It's not even going to be about a LifeVantage opportunity. It's really going to be like, how can I serve that person? So that the trust is being built in our relationship just a little bit deeper, and a little bit more solid. So identifying the purpose and goals that help us, a goal that helps us, get started by connecting where we want to go with what we need to do. We want to make choices along the way that align with our desired outcome. Okay. And we want to adapt to changes and learn from our experiences. And so, you know, adapting to the changes and learning from the experiences, how many of us have had life just, you have your schedule, you think it's going to happen, and the whole thing rearranges? Sometimes that can throw us off. And sometimes that can even kind of crush our mindset to the point that we forget what our mission was. We forget who we were the day before or the night before. So it's going to be really good to be able to go with the flow, adapt to the changes, and really reflect and learn from our experiences. So think about it. Have you stopped to think about the purpose of what you're doing? What's the real goal or the real reason for doing it, right? Jot down the outcome you're hoping to get for an upcoming day at work, project or meeting, important conversation, an email, text, or social media post, trip with friends. Like, try just writing down, like what do you want to be getting out of these particular meetings? And here's an example of an application challenge. First, you're going to choose the challenge. So, if you have an upcoming conversation or a meeting, whether it's personal or professional, that could benefit from clarifying a goal or an objective, write that down. It could be something going on at work. It could be something going on in the home. It could be with your LifeVantage business. We really can apply this concept to any part of our life, depending on what's kind of coming up. Like, if it's a challenging conversation. Next, you're going to make a plan. You're going to use the formula. The purpose of X is Y. You're going to write a statement to clarify the goal. And I have a great example here for closing out the month. Okay. So this is kind of the challenge application for the application challenge for kind of that the crux of like, okay, the last subscription run happens. You're a leader, you've got some team, or maybe it's for yourself. Like, it can be any of the above. But really, it's applying out how to close the month strong, right? Like, we know that, you have a goal. Let's say you were, on your way to closing out, MC1 for the first time. And we know that's 10,000 in volume. And maybe you've got 5 days left. You have a team that's kind of rolling at the same time, and you're about 1,500 out with making that and kind of bridging that gap. So, one of the statements that, you could really, work with is, okay, what are the behaviors that need to happen to be able to make this happen, right? I'm going to do X number of follow-ups with people who have already had their shopping carts out. X number of follow-ups with people who might be on the fence. I'm going to use the team. I'm going to make sure customers have orders running properly. There's a list of things that you could do to help either yourself or a team member be able to close that month out strong. So it's about, again, like being ahead of the month closing out, identifying that on the 25th, you're going to look at, kind of it could be your unsuccessful subscription report. You're just going to take in all the information, and you're going to really use that formula of the purpose of let's say, Jill Weinberg getting to MC1 this month. Here's what we want to do. The purpose of this is, I'm going to apply these things to closing out the month strong. So this is just one example of how we can just apply this to our LifeVantage business, because the challenge is real. The challenge is there. A lot of people are like, 1,500 to close the month in 5 days. That feels like absolutely crazy. How is this all going to happen? Well, I can tell you that working with one of our consultants, getting her, I think she's on the call, Cynthia Greenawalt, to Executive One, EC1, you guys, we had 10 days out, we had 20,000 in volume that we were trying to close. And what I did to kind of have the end in mind is I always go into nature, and this is kind of like how I do it. First of all, I have to have a feeling inside that this is going to happen. Like, the decision has been made. It's going into nature and creating rock Karens, that have the amount that she needs, that I visit every single day. I get really quiet, and I literally follow the breadcrumbs to every single thing that drops in. You guys, this is a spiritual path. This is a complete spiritual path, and this stuff will drop right in. And, you know, once the decision is made and we're on board, and then it was like getting in touch, it was reaching out, it was working with the team. I had all these strategies. And you guys, we had 1 month in advance to plan this, how this was all going to go out. So there was a lot of forethought, but it was a lot of visualization. It was a lot of forethought before anything like happened. And do you know that we closed that month and she hit EC1? Okay. So it's literally like having the strategy, the game plan, all those things, but having that vision ahead to really, you know, really visualize, get into the feeling of it, you know, and that's what a lot of this is. So um, by creating and living by a personal mission statement, a personal mission statement is an expression of your purpose and priorities. It can take any form, but should clarify what's most important to you, remind you of what gives you life meaning, and guide your decision making. Okay. So when you're creating a mission statement, we want to, you know, writing your mission statement, write your inspirations, write down the names of 3 people who inspire you. You can do that right now, and how their qualities or attributes could feature in your own personal mission. Family, friends, a fictional character, historical figures, artists, business leaders, people in our own business, right? Write down like what qualities you like about them, okay? Your experiences. This is key. Write a letter to your younger or your older self. Keep the focus of the letter inspirational. What can you look forward to? When are you at your best? What advice do you want to give to inspire yourself? What can you be proud of? Okay, so you're going to like craft this letter. And you guys, this is so much fun. It's just about creating the time to do it. Your relationships, write down 3 key roles that you play in personal and your professional life. It could be a mom, it could be a coach, it could be a wife, it could be a daughter. How do you want those people to feel when you interact with them? What would you want them to say when you are not in the room? And this is key. So this writing this mission statement is really really important. When you think about how you want to live, what themes show up, those are the things worth considering in your personal mission statement. Try it. Your personal mission statement will evolve as your priorities, goals, and circumstances change. Revisit it regularly to check what you're living in alignment with, which is most important with you. So, you know, with these themes, look for the themes. The themes for me were generosity, curiosity, love, kindness, loyalty, spirit-filled, inspiration, focus. Like I was just going through and just capturing the themes after I did those 3, the inspiration, the experiences, and the relationships. And here's what I came up with. You guys have been working kind of hard on this. And then we're just going to wrap this up because we are at our time right now. But this is what I came up with. And you know, I went through these 3 exercises and I came up with, I am a lighthouse, a world changer, and it's my mission to be the light, inspiring strength and vision for manifesting bold dreams. To live a complete life fulfilled with vitality and compassion, igniting a movement where love and deep listening uplift all who seek guidance. This is a mission. This is a movement. All ships rise, and it begins with me. Woo! I am just so excited about that. You guys take the time to go through this. Snap a shot of this homework right here. Go back to your answers from the questions that you answered last week. How do you want to become more effective in your professional life? How do you want to become more effective in your personal life? Begin to put together your personal mission statement. We're going to review the cards for habit 3, review the 7 habits poster. How does achieving the result you want connect with your personal mission? Okay, you guys, this is a lot. This is a download. I'm going to stop the recording and I will open it up for questions, comments, but thank you all for being here today. I appreciate you and looking forward to next week.